There is a fifth society, beyond that which is known to man. It is a society as ideal as utopia, and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between capitalism and feudalism, between ownership and sharing, and it lies between the pit of man's oppression and the summit of his revolution. This is the society of ideal socialism. It is an area which we call Trotskyism. Submitted for your approval, one large empire known as Tsarist Russia. Exhibit A, a huge divide between the ultra-rich autocracy and the ultra-poor workers. Enter Marxism, an ideology that promises to abolish private property and capitalist societies and bring equal rights to the working class. It was founded by Karl Marx and advocated by Vladimir Lenin. In the midst of all this, there stands one man, Leon Trotsky. Leon Trotsky, along with Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin, is one of the main collaborators in the October Russian Revolution, when the Soviet Party overthrew the current Tsarist regime, under Tsar Nicholas II. The Soviet movement was fighting at this time to free the industrial workers from the nearly unbearable conditions they were living in. In the Soviet Party, Trotsky was undoubtedly the second in command after Lenin. Trotsky founded and led the Red Army, making it into a professional fighting force nearly 3 million men strong. He was critical in defeating all opposition, including the provisional government set up in the Tsar's absence. Trotsky used the army to try and free the market economy, and used his soldiers as labor armies to improve public transportation. All of this work, however, inspired hate in extreme left thinkers, especially Joseph Stalin, who would later come back to haunt him. Trotsky and Lenin worked very closely. Trotsky was the superior in administrative and intellectual capacities, and Lenin had the political manipulation to win support. In 1921, Lenin and Trotsky worked to defeat Stalin's proposal to unite the Soviet republics into a federal state, which would later become known as the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the infamous USSR. Lenin and Trotsky also opposed Stalin's ideas of a Soviet bureaucracy, the very thing the revolution had hoped to abolish. After Lenin's death, Trotsky was slandered and his reputation ruined by Stalin and his supporters. He was exiled from the USSR in 1929 and sought refuge in Mexico. While in exile, he was tried and found guilty in absentia for revolutionary crimes. In response, Trotsky founded the Fourth International, a return to true communism. Trotsky and his supporters, the Trotskyists, considered the USSR lost to Stalinism. The Trotskyists criticized Stalin's rule for its harsh and totalitarian government. Trotsky maintained that socialism without democracy is impossible, and regarded the USSR as a bureaucratic state in direct opposition to the working class. He regarded it no longer as a socialist workers' state, but as a denigrated workers' state. Trotskyists opposed totalitarian Stalinism, fascism, and capitalism. While in exile, Trotsky wrote numerous books opposing Stalin and his regime. He was finally silenced by an undercover NKVD agent, the USSR secret police. His last words were, "I will not survive this attack." Stalin has finally accomplished the task he attempted unsuccessfully before. He died at the age of 60 on the 21st of August, 1940, as a result of blood loss and shock. Trotsky left behind a legacy. He gave land to the peasants, gave freedom to the oppressed minority nations, and fought against the rise of Stalinist totalitarianism and fascism. Trotsky was undoubtedly the most intellectual theorist, best administrative revolutionary, and rousing public speaker in the Russian Revolution. Had he won control over the Soviet Party, the legacy of the country we know today as the USSR would certainly have been different, especially in extent and totalitarian rule. For 43 years of my conscious life, I have remained a revolutionist. For 42 of them, I have fought under the banner of Marxism. If I had to begin it all over again, I would of course try to avoid this or that mistake, but the main course of my life would remain unchanged. I shall die a proletarian revolutionist, a Marxist, a dialectical materialist, and consequently an irreconcilable atheist. My faith in the communist future of mankind is not less ardent. Indeed, it is firmer today than it was in the days of my youth. Natasha has just come up to the window from the courtyard and opened it wider so that air may enter more freely into my room. I can see the bright green strip of grass beneath the wall, and the clear blue sky above the wall, and sunlight everywhere. Life is beautiful. Let the future generations cleanse it of all evil, oppression, and violence, and enjoy it to the full. L. Trotsky, 27th of February, 1940, Coyoacan, Mexico.